What's up guys, this is Arthur from Bluff the Spot, and today we'll be taking a look at some potential Spewy plays I made in January. I'm very curious to know what you guys think about it, but in addition to that, we're also going to take a look at some Rakeback numbers I got in January. So let's get into the action. Alright guys, so let's take a look at some hands today. Those are some hands I played in January, some hands that are potential Spewy plays. Today is going to be a different format. I'll actually not dissect through my thought process during the hand, and I'll just dissect a little bit of both ranges. But I'll not talk so much about strategy, and I'm very curious to know what you guys think about it, and think about the hands on the comments down below. So what I want to know from you is, I want you to vote if, let's say, hand 1, hand 2, hand 3 is a spew or a normal play. Without further ado, let's take a look at the action now. So we have ace deuce of clubs on the small blind here. We decided to 3-bet probably. Yes, that's the case. My opponent goes for 4-bet. Important to realize that he's 174 big blinds deep, 176, something like this. So yeah, I first of all think some suited aces are going to perform better on deep spots. Already talking a little bit about strategy, but in general, yeah, this is an okay call in my opinion. So this is the flop, and I of course check out of position. He decided to check behind. 5 of hearts appears on the turn, so I think his range now, it depends. A lot of people are just going to play a full range bet strategy here. Some people will have a checking range because the 9 and the 10 connect very well with the small blind flatting range, as he's going to have a lot of hands like 9-8 suited, 9-10 suited, pocket 10s, pocket jacks, jack 10, ace 10, etc. So some people might have a checking range, but some people also may c-bet their entire range, which is fine as well. So going up to the turn, since my opponent checked behind, I think his range is more capped to a lot of hands like ace king, maybe some pocket aces slow played sometimes, let's say the combos with like ace of diamonds, ace of hearts. But in general, not too much of a strong range in my opinion. I think most of the strong hands like jacks, queens, and kings are going to bet, and then maybe some occasional slow play with pocket aces, or something even like pocket tens if he's 4-betting that being deep. So it's kind of close. Maybe he can have also some slow plays with hands like ace, king of diamonds. But I think his range is somehow pretty weak in the sense that he's going to have so many ace queens, ace jacks, ace kings, some bluffs with hands like king jack suited and king jack offsuit and things like that. So yeah, with that in mind, I guess I decided to bet, as I know myself and I know I'm really aggressive. Probably just with the plan to blast it off. So my opponent decides to call, and the river is the 7 of hearts. To be fair, I don't remember with what exactly I was thinking in game. I will have a few ranges here, probably a middling sizing with a range that bets for that middling sizing, a small sizing like a block bet, something like 20 big blinds, and then an all-in sizing, an overbet jam. As for, of course, the overbet jam, I'll be betting some nutted hands that unblock my opponent's calling range. So let's say I have exactly pocket tens here, I might just go for a block bet. But it depends on how I also perceive my opponent's calling range to be, because some people might never fold any overpair here, so that might be a bigger EV for us to just jam our nutted hands. But in general, yes, block betting with something that it's a value but also blocks my opponent's calling range, and overbet jamming with my nutted hands that I think that get calls by worse, and then block betting with some thin value bets. With this hand specifically, well, I will let you guys in the chat, in the comments, figure out if it's a good bluff or not. We unblock some diamonds that he might check back the flop with and call the turn. Like let's say the occasional ace king of diamonds, or maybe even something like, yeah, ace queen of diamonds, even if he has it on his 4-bet range. Potentially something like even ace 5 of diamonds if he wants to check it. And slow play. So he's not going to have too many diamonds either, because those are not that many combos. Those are just a few combos. So we shouldn't be focused too much on that. So his range is going to contain a lot at the same time, a lot of hands like king 10, ace 10, yeah, things like that. Some queen jack suited if he ever has this into his 4-bet range. So it's those 4-bet bots are always difficult to read, because we never know what's our opponent 4-bet range with, and that it's very different from player to player, for example. So from what we expect from him, I think he's gonna have quite a few airs, even some hands like Ace King offsuit with all the diamonds that he just didn't decided to see bet here, and some occasional pocket aces. But all the kings, queens, jacks, I think he's gonna be betting on a higher frequency on the flop. But again, some combos of aces, then some combos of tens if you ever four bets. I just think this board hits small blind range pretty well for small blind to be applying so much pressure. Anyways, we decided to go all in here, and my opponent decided to call with ace three of hearts. So yeah, my opponent decided to four bet deep with ace three of hearts, and he decided to check back on this board. I mean, you guys can discuss a little bit about his strategy here. I personally have some opinions, but today is just a day that I want to know what do you guys think about the hands. And don't worry, I'll be talking with you in the comments. And as soon as the comments start flowing, I'll start talking about what I think about the strategies as well. Okay, so yeah, we end up losing a huge pot here, quite deep. And want to know from you guys if hand one is a spew or a normal bluff. Okay, guys, so hand two now. Let's get into the action. We have 6-7 of diamonds, a hand that I will not be three betting every single time on the big blind against the cutoff, but sometimes we will. We're quite deep here as well, so that's important to notice. Anyways, we decided to three bet 6-7 of diamonds, big blind versus cutoff. My opponent decides to call. We go to a flop. The flop is 8-9 deuce, two tones. We have an open ender. I feel like a lot of people can have multiple strategies here. Some people will range bet, some people will have a checking range. With this hand specifically, I think in both strategies it's a fine bet anyways. I decided to go for a half pot, middling sizing, and my opponent decides to call. So we can already think a little bit about his range. I think some hands like pocket threes, pocket fours might get folded. But to be fair, if he knows I'm betting on a high frequency, he should be probably floating some portion of them. His overcards that are going to be supposed to be floating here are potentially overcards with hearts or spades on it, so backdoor flush draw overcards. And then for the very good overcards, let's say hands like ace king that he has on his flattening range or ace queen, he can potentially even float without that many backdoors. Okay, so if the turn was a low card, I think out of position range wants to bet, over bet, and even go for a lot of check jam, check raising. Not that many check jamming because we're deep, but still quite a few check raises. In this case, to be fair, the king is a pretty good card for the small blind, right? But also somehow good for the cutoff. But it's a very good card for the small blind, especially if he has a high frequency c-bet. Because if he doesn't have a high frequency c-bet on the flop, he has a checking range, for example. He's going to include a lot of overcards on his checking range, which means when he's betting, the king is going to hit him a little bit less. But still, it hits like both strategies pretty well, even with the check range and with the c-bet full range. Not saying we're going to check our whole range, but just adding a checking range on our strategy. So the king is very good for the out of position. I would suppose out of position is going to even have a strategy of like going for 1/3 bet, something like a middling sizing, like 3/4, and even maybe some overbets because of the fact that we're deep. Check raises are going to occur, but not that many, but still at some frequency it's going to happen. With this hand specifically, it's a hand that I would say out of position doesn't mind barreling because basically it unblocks a lot of our opponent's folding range, hands like ace queen, ace jack, ace 10. That in position is going to have here as for his floats. And it also doesn't mind getting raised here, doesn't mind getting called because it has enough equity. If it gets raised, easy fold. Now, if you have maybe a heart combo here, not the 6-7 of hearts, but let's say something that really doesn't want to call a raise here, let's say batting something like a low flush draw and then facing a raise, and then you feel disgusted because you did bet that flush draw. Well, that hand might be one of the hands you want to include into our checking range. But anyways, yeah, I think my opponent is going to have a lot of like hands that were unblocking on his folding range. And I think if I did decide to bet, that would be a fine option, which I decided to go for an overbet. I'm not going to discuss too much about it. You guys can think about it and discuss in the comments. And I'll be very, very curious to see what you guys have to say about those hands. Because those are some fun pots that we played. Anyways, my opponent decides to go for another call. At this point, well, just by reviewing the hand, I'm very concerned about him having hands like pocket eights, pocket nines. I wouldn't consider too many king eights and king nines, but it's possible at some frequency. But apart from that, we can also consider that he's going to have a lot of hands like 10 jack, flush draws, ace queen of hearts, ace jack of hearts, ace 10 of hearts, etc. Even hands like 9, 10 of hearts that are going to fold to a river jam. So yeah, my opponent has a significant good amount of strong hands, but also significant good amount of trashy hands that he's just going to snap fold to a jam. So I'll let you guys decide if this is a spewy hand or just a normal hand. My opponent decides to call though, and he has the king 8 of hearts. Okay, we pulled the trigger in 2 hands. We got called on the 2 hands, but I guess you shouldn't be too results oriented to make your decision. Of course, I'm going to show the results because, I mean, otherwise it wouldn't make any sense to make the video, but I am really interested to see what you guys think about those 2 hands. Do you think hand 1 is a spew or a normal hand? And do you think the hand 2 is a spew or a normal hand? All right, guys, and now as a bonus for this video, I want to show you how much money I made in Rakeback this last month in January. So we have here 480 on the first week, on the second week actually, 720 on the second and the third, and 720 on the fourth, and 1040 on the last week. So that is a grand total of, we're going to check it out now, almost 3K in Rakeback only. Now, I also want to add to that I got $500 on this week on the leaderboard. 500 on this week on the leaderboard. And 600 on the last week on the leaderboard. Giving me a grand total of 4.5K only in Rakeback. Alright guys, that was it for today, and I see you guys later. Alright guys, that was it for today. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, make sure you smash the like button and subscribe to this channel so you never miss any of the newest videos. I'll be releasing probably a new one at the next week. Also, don't forget to let me know down below in the comments what do you think about the hands I reviewed today. Thanks for watching, and I see you guys back on the next video. Bye!